Now, I just did something interesting, which my mouse scrolls really, really easily, and so now I'm zoomed in and I have no idea where I am. This happens on occasion, and a really easy way to figure out what's going on and to fix it is to go up here, and you see this little magnifying button on a document? Click that. That's your fit to page area. So now you can see, now I've got a lot of stuff in the way, but here's my outer border of my document, all the way across. It's a little clogged because I'm only using one screen and I've got a lot of stuff here, but pretty much it's fit my entire page onto my screen, and then I can zoom in or out to adjust as I see fit. Alright, so now that we've drawn a rectangle, let's move on to our next tool, which is going to be our double line tool. The reason this tool is useful is that for us, we will eventually use it to draw out our electrics. A double line can quickly turn into a pipe of your desired length. So, I'm going to go up here, I'm going to click on my double line tool, and one of the very first things I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this box. This box says up here in your context menu, separation. Right now it's saying 0.1 of an inch. It's saying the distance between these two lines is 0.1 of an inch. That's ridiculously small. Our pipes in the theater, they're 6 inches in width. So go ahead and type 6 inches. We're going to click on the double line preferences. And there are 3 options here. You can create lines, you can create polygons, or in our case, rectangles, or you can create lines and polygons. We want to create polygons. We're going to make a long, skinny rectangle, which we're then going to turn into a pipe later on. So make sure that Create Polygons is checked. Make sure again that your separation says 6 inches, and hit OK. Now you should get your little crosshair icon. I'm going to start dragging it out. I'm going to hit Tab. I want this, for our purposes, to be 30 feet, let's say. In this case, your A is your angle. What angle do you want it to be? We would like to draw a perfectly horizontal line, so we're going to say 0, and hit Enter. Hit Enter again, and there's your line. As you can see here, we have a pipe, or what will be a pipe. And if you go over to your object info and click on shape, this will tell you that this is 6 inches thick by 30 feet wide. There's your pipe. Alright. For our next tool, we're going to do the freeform polygon tool, which is this tool right here, 2D polygon. When we click it, we're going to get our crosshairs again, and we're going to get something that looks a little odd. When you click and drag, it'll draw a line, just as if you were using the line tool, but it will continue to draw out. This is actually extremely useful if you have an odd piece of scenery that you're trying to draw. Not everything that, Bill or any other scenic designer will design will actually be a perfect square or line or circle. So you can just click as many times as you'd like. And when you're done, you match up your line with that first point, and it snaps right to it, and you get a shape. Mine looks vaguely like a crocodile, but you get the idea. So again, if we delete that, you'll click on your 2D polygon tool, click once, move your mouse, click again, and again, and again, until you get back to your first point or your end point, and again it will want to snap to it for you. You click that, and you'll have a freeform polygon. Well, something to notice about this polygon is that it currently has a black outline, as you can see here, and it has a white fill. We don't always want things to just be black and white. Most often, we won't want them to have any fill at all. We'll want them to be transparent in the middle. To have that happen, click on the object, go over here. This is, I believe, your attributes palette, window, palettes, attributes. And you'll click on this first one. This first one is your fill, what goes in the middle of it. If you click none, you can see that it went from white to that sort of light tan color. If I click and drag it sort of over this pipe, you'll see that it's actually transparent. Another thing you may want to do is you may want to do like a crosshatch. And you can select your different styles. I'm just going to do a steel, apparently. and you have this filled with some very busy lines. Most often, though, you'll want to do a solid color. But maybe white's just not your thing. If that's the case, you'll click in this box down here. You'll click on your color wheel, and you'll pick whatever color you want. I like a nice happy blue, so there you are. I have an odd shape with a blue fill. Now let's say I want to draw multiple objects and I want to layer them because one object is on top of another. I'm going to draw a square. If I hit Shift, it'll lock it to 45 degrees as I'm drawing out my rectangle. So if I hit this, here's what I've drawn. I hit Shift, and it locks it to a square. So I click that. And so now I've drawn a square over my weird blue shape. But let's say this is wrong, and we actually want our weird blue shape on top. With my square highlighted, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Modify, Send, and then there's all these options. For our case, we're going to say Send to Back. You'll notice now we have our square behind our weird blue area. The difference between these is very simple. Send to back means you send it to the very bottom. If you have 12 objects, it will always be this very bottom. Send backwards means you just go one below. So if you have 12 objects and your square was your first object, when you hit send backwards, it will now be your second object in your stacked layers of objects. Send to front and send forward do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and delete them. I'm going to do that by dragging over them again and just hitting delete. They're gone. The last thing we're going to want to do today is I'm going to want to start setting up layers and import an image of Ethington Theatre. We'll use this image for class next time, but I just want to get us started so that we're in a good place to begin next week. First and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new layer. As explained last week, layers are great for organization. I use them all the time. The instructor, the British guy that we have been listening to, recommends that you do it for different physical levels in your theater, such as you might have a level for your stage floor, and you might have another level for if you have a balcony, you might have another level for your electrics. He goes literally by height of objects in your theater. I use them in a different manner. The way I use them is I create a different layer for each of my systems. For example, I may have a layer just for front light, or I may have a layer just for my top light, or for my sight lights. In addition, I'll also have layers for things like my scenery, for the actual building of Ethington, the ground plan for Ethington proper, or for, say, my electrics. They'll have their own layer. In this case, we're going to create one new layer, and we're going to import a PDF of the ground plan of Ethington Theatre. This ground plan is actually to scale, and when you import it, you'll be able to drag it, and it is perfectly sized to this piece of paper that you have here, your ArchD settings, 36 inches by 24. So to begin, we're going to go over to our navigation palette. If you don't have your navigation palette, go up to Window, Palettes, Navigation, and click it. When you get that, there's a number of different icons up here. There's your classes, which is what it tends to default to. And then your second icon are your layers. We're going to click into layers. It defaults to having this initial layer, and that's fine. We're going to create a new one. To do so, right-click and select New. In this, you're going to create a new name for your layer. Our name in this case, I'm going to say, is Ethington Theatre. One of the most important things in this dialog box that we want to make sure is checked is this Edit Properties After Creation. If we don't have it checked and we need to change something later, this will be a real pain, so make sure that this box is checked. When it is, click OK. And you'll get this box. This is what that checkbox in the previous window brought up. Things we want to make sure. 1 to 32. That's our scale, and that's correct. See here, 3/8 equals 1 to 32. Stacking order. This we don't need to worry about right now. Story, elevation, none of this matters. We would like it to be set to 100% opacity. If we pull it down, it'll be somewhat transparent or not transparent at all. Everything else we can just ignore and then hit OK. You'll notice over here that now I have a layer named Ethington Theater. So now that we have this Ethington Theater layer, we're going to import a PDF. I uploaded this PDF to your Facebook page and told you beforehand to go ahead and download it onto your computers. Hopefully you've already done that and you know where you've saved this document. I know that I've saved it to my document, so I'm going to go ahead and start importing. To import a PDF, it's very simple. Go to File, Import, Import PDF. When you do that, it'll think a little bit, and it'll bring up your import box. I know that I've saved mine to the desktop, so I'm going to click it, and I'm going to click Open. It's asking me to import from 1 to 1 page. If you had a multi-page PDF, it would ask you what you wanted to bring in. This is only 1 page, so we're going to go ahead and just keep it as it is and click Import. Now you see I have a white box with Ethington Theater in it. With my selection tool in use, so the X key or you click it, go ahead and click and drag. You'll notice that this is the exact size of your piece of paper, and with my snapping on, it wants to snap to it perfectly. We now have Ethington Theater as our background. The last step that we're going to do on this theater layer is we're going to lock it. Lock it means that I can't click and drag and move this image all over my document. And that's very important because as we're drafting, we're going to want the theater to stay put. We don't want the actual image of the theater to move around because that's going to mess up everything. If you accidentally bump it and your theater's down here and you're drafting down here, when you go to print it, remember this is your page border, you're going to cut off a substantial part of your entire plot. So go ahead, make sure that it's where it wants to be. And then right-click on it and click Lock. If you've done it right, your orange border will go to gray, and it'll make obnoxious beeping noises at you if you try to move it. This is perfect. This is exactly how we want this to be. To finish this document, I'm going to save it, and then I'm going to go File, Export, Export PDF. Just use all the basic settings here. Click Export. Then name it Untitled Dash Ethington Theater. It'll generate a PDF, and it looks a little funky up here because we have double watermarks, but just ignore that. And then upload this PDF to Angel. That concludes today's lesson.